Hello. Today's video is about the replication of the function of anxiety. Now, if you go over the videos that I've made, beginning with Theory of Relativity 2.0, where it discloses the discovery that anxiety is a political entity, and that is comprised of 8 laws. And I've deduced this solely from the behaviour of individuals and the group. And the other layers of what's going on, which is the media wanting to seem, credible to sell their advertising. And then there's politicians, and then there's banks, and then there's like all these other things. And then there is like these icons, cultural icons, and how they all position themselves politically in our society. Now, the replication of the function of anxiety is pretty much a lot of what goes on. So I could start from the individual's experience growing up as a kid. So let's say, for example, the kid's like 12, 13, 14 years old, and they start wanting, kids start wanting to develop their own identity around that time, puberty, blah, blah. And so they start doing all these things like independently, but the parent don't like that a lot of the time, and they get real strict. And so the parent will invariably use replicating the function of anxiety to get the kid's attention, because everyone instinctively knows that everyone has a relationship to anxiety and actually believes it's reality. And so that's very good leverage, okay, over people, okay. And so you get all these instances of that, and the kid invariably, respects the adult a lot for that. But actually, I just saw, it's just the replication of the function of anxiety and the relationship to anxiety, and how young people hang on to their bond with consciousness, because consciousness always welcomes people. Always, it's a joy to actually have that quality moment with consciousness. It's fabulous, man. But this is why this is one of the chief reasons that people believe in religion, is because it gives the appearance that it operates as a representative of consciousness, okay? But and so it comes to it that all the young people in the world, they're all growing up believing that religion is really credible from what they see around them. And all I can say about it is, since discovering that anxiety is a political entity, religion really merely replicates the function of anxiety over the whole world. Okay, we got on the one hand the individual's relationship to anxiety, and on the other hand you've got religion that's replicating the function of anxiety, and it's done by way of religion's exclusively derived from the senior elements of the political correctness of anxiety, right? And that's why it's got political credibility with people, because of their relationship to anxiety that comes from the culture shock experience of being born. Okay, that brings anxiety's values into existence, and it is the first thing that formats the mind, right? It really is. And but what other replications of the function of anxiety can I see? Well, the Jewish people, it's not the Jewish people, it's the Jewish cultural, what I call this phrase I've coined, the cultural belief identity of Jewish people, right? And that replicates the function of anxiety as well. There's yeah, there's different things in it, and you know, um, and they replicate the function of anxiety because they own all the media. You know, they've got religion there. You know, and they're all about promoting anxiety as wisdom because that's their whole religious reality, which they think is actual reality, but actually it's not. It's a belief. So that's not reality at all. The only reality is we're life forms living on this planet, and we've got our big heater next to us, which is the sun, and that's really the first and foremost political reality of planet Earth. A lot of religions really it's what we choose to believe under the circumstances. Okay, and the circumstances of this is that anxiety is culture shocked into existence by the event of birth, and that gives birth to the first two laws. You want to conceal your anxieties, and you allow others people, you find it important that other people are allowed to conceal their anxieties. Well, that's a political agreement governing language. Okay, and so under that, the giant lie, there's giant lies and lies and lies, and we accept these giant lies because believing anxiety is wisdom is the giant lie of all lies, and we all go along with that. We're all tricked into it. It's just a freak accident of this life form who is consciousness aware, sentient being in the universe, and quite possibly the ultimate life form in the universe. We get tricked into believing in anxiety. Okay, and it's just a freak accident, man. And I'm thinking if everyone knew, then we wouldn't believe anxiety is wisdom. Then all the people that don't would actually be able to come out of the underground world they live in, the underground political experience they are experiencing. That has always happened, especially since religion, the Catholic Church ran around for 500 years murdering everyone that disagreed with it, which is replicating the function of anxiety. And so, the justice system in New Zealand actually replicates the function of anxiety because it just got no interest in the cause of people's problems. It just wants to punish people. It wants revenge. And it actually is not that it wants revenge. It is replicating the function of anxiety. And what else replicates the function of anxiety? The banking system replicates the function of anxiety because it wants all the money. So it's replicating the function of anxiety where it wants total control over everything, which was a replication of a function of anxiety. See, a good team does not need a boss. Now, all you out there that work for a living, you all know that. A good team never needs a boss. Everyone nurtures everyone's experience and everyone gets raised up to wisdom. And then you can actually trust anyone on the team to have the ability to make a decision equally as good as anyone. And so a good team does not need a boss. But anxiety hates that, and that's why, these middle management types, to seem credible to these workers, man, and it's right down to the middle management class and government regulations around occupational health and safety and a number of other regulatory issues, right? They really are only replicating the function of anxiety to seem more politically credible. Because effectively a lot of the rules about OSH, according to a wise, capable, competent person, is that a lot of these laws, it seems like holistically it looks like they try to actually teach people to be incompetent actually, and this is coming from the need to make it easier to control people, which is replicating the function of anxiety. Political correctness, right? Political correctness is replicating the function of anxiety because political correctness is only the political correctness of anxiety, and it's the political correctness of anxiety which governs what you can and can't say, hurting people's feelings, and it's like all like that and all that. Well, this is just replicating the function of anxiety. It's extrapolating the political correctness of anxiety. It's their anxieties about culture. It's anxieties about political culture, of culture, And see, this is why the hard sell came with political correctness, going into the schools, politicising children, politicising sex, politicising everything, man. It's because anxiety is a political entity, and it only wants to replicate itself over everything we do. And largely our whole civilization, that is a result of the consequences of the first and second laws, where 10% is the maximum allowable quality of communication. Okay, this civilization we have is, you know, this is all we've been able to achieve, having this all-powerful jurisdiction where you can only use 10% of your expression, your intellectual, spiritual expression. And so there's a whole lot more we could be doing, man. It's like there's a whole lot more we could be doing. Now, in the West, I think materialism does aggravate anxieties, because in the West, you know, it's like Duterte's recent speech. Russia will just give them money, you know, Russia will just sell them arms with no conditions, you know. And China's the same. They just, you know, it's just yes means yes and no means no. And you know, America doesn't act like that, though. Okay, because America wants to replicate the function of anxiety, because America believes very strongly in Jewish values. Now you get the overt Jewish values, which is religious principles, okay? But then you get the underlying culture behind that, where it's actually inverted, okay? And then you get your financial culture, and then you get your political culture, okay? And so, considering that religion has been exclusively derived from the senior elements of the political correctness of anxiety, okay, there is your character of the deep state, which is they have choreographed and composed the US foreign policy pre-Trump, okay, and you know, it's really going on everywhere, you know, and the whole Islamist thing, the whole, you know, you get Muslims and you get Islamists, right? Islamists, okay, yeah, it's just like the ultra-Orthodox Jews. The Islamists, all they do is sell the political correctness of anxiety, and how Islamists posture themselves against Western values. This is exactly replicating the function of anxiety according to how you experience it. You know, you've got your natural instinct, which is probably generosity, willingness to communicate, and being creative, okay? Well, anxiety hates all of that, and that's why Islam has its rules for other people, for infidels, okay? It's the only, all it is, all laws and rules in Islam pertaining to infidels is the politically correct optimum outcome of anxiety. And that is the judgment of Islam against the West. Okay, it's just the replication of the function of anxiety. Now, you know that this is true, because whenever you're sitting around, you're having a coffee with friends or something, and someone gets really angry, everyone just stops and just goes quiet, and it's like, you know, and so the person getting angry is replicating the function of anxiety to have control over your group. Your reaction is replicating the function of anxiety, okay, by going all quiet, and it's like, you know, you acquiesce to it, you know, and so you'll find them everywhere. Why is there so much conflict and emotional trauma on the news and the TV in general? You know, all the movies are about conquest over some bad guy, you know. Okay, it's all replicating the function of anxiety, right? You know, and still though, if you look at the the 8 laws, and you get familiar with 8 laws, and you can see it, and you're out there, and you know, you can identify when these laws are in play, what's the configuration of that particular relationship going on over there. How are the, you know, how does one group control other groups, you know, as is very common in the world, in the political sphere. You know, if you look at the 8 laws and get familiar with that, you can see it is a very, very good insight into the character of consciousness, because anxiety uses consciousness as its vehicle. It's the only vehicle it's got. So all the magic tricks that anxiety is capable of, okay, is because of the character and awesomeness of the cognitive awesomeness of consciousness, okay, and so yeah, I thought I'd say something about the replication of the function of anxiety, and you know, these people, like myself, like me, that have always had the suspicions, but they were unspeakable. There was no way of articulating any kind of description. That we knew consciousness was right there. Because largely the culture, the political optics of our culture is that anxiety is reality. But actually that's not true. Consciousness is only the reality. Anxiety is a theatre, okay? And it's consciousness that is reality. And by virtue of those that have taken interest in what I've discovered, yeah, it's because you're loyal to consciousness. You want to know more. You want to know more, and to just expand, man. You know what I mean? And so all praise to those that have always had their suspicions and never been able to articulate them. And now my contribution is this message of the revelation of the 8 laws, and we may articulate the different parts of the experience that is to be a person, and that's a mind-blowing thing, man, because while anxiety is being believed as wisdom by virtue of the media, religion, financial system, and how we're ambushed by the culture shock experience of birth, right? We will never understand our nature, our potential, our nature. None of it is going to be even able to be spoken of, right? Except for the commonplace, wishful thinking, you know, romanticized pining. With the revelation of the 8 laws, we can now see a whole lot about actually what we are about, and we can deduce quite a lot of information from that. There's many data points, and even your own self and your own mind, because we are equally, we're the same. Everyone is the same. Mind, body, consciousness, right? And this is why the 8 laws revelation is an amnesty, okay? So there you go. This is why, yeah, it's that confluence, the confluence. Okay, culture shock experience of birth. Okay, people who believe very highly in anxiety, right? Invented religion, right? Christianity, right? And they probably also wrote the Quran, right? Because anxiety loved company, man. And the Jewish people positioned themselves into Caucasian societies, and that's a replication of anxiety. Owning the media, just being involved with all these very, very senior pillars of our community, right? And they've just, all they've done to achieve that is replicate the function of anxiety. That's all they've done. They've replicated the function of anxiety to achieve getting into those positions, and so that's the main one, eh? When you've seen it so many times, so many people, they have highly immoral demands they put on other people, like emotional demands, right? And they're using the political correctness of anxiety as the main sales pitch, okay? And once you start identifying that, then you will be able to know what fear is, because at the moment you don't know what fear is, man. And anyway, there you go. I'd just like to give a big shout out to double stake subways. They're rather good. And now, if you're watching this, you've learnt the 8 laws. Put your foot down if you see anxiety dominating someone who is at a position of disadvantage. Okay? If someone is getting taken advantage of by means of the political correctness of anxiety, being threatening them with it, or as a weapon, bloody say something and stop it happening. You need only to quote the message and they will, seen it happen, do something about it. Okay, stand up for people. If there's an argument in the house next door between a husband and wife, just go and walk in, because they're inviting themselves into your house. You go over there and you put it out by just quoting this message. More. Come on. Make the statement. It will, you act on behalf of consciousness. It resonates to all of us that are listening. It does. Okay? Anyway, the weather over here right now is beautiful, with a drizzly rain and an overcast sky. The sky is making love to the earth today, and I say it's good weather. Okay? And anyway, right. You all have a good one, and create peace around you, please. Tell more people. That's my wish.